What is going on, guys? This is Versus All Gaming with my review of Tokyo Ravens episode 22. And this episode, it was definitely good, and it was also very dialogue heavy. Now, I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but eventually, when I cover those parts that were definitely heavy with like dialogue, I'll summarize that just so you guys won't have to sit here and watch me go through the entire thing of what they were saying. So the episode, it starts off with Haruto, and we all know that he was like in this room. And we see now that he put something on the window, and it's this spider. And we see that the spider, has this magical symbol made out of his web. So clearly, it's a familiar because we don't ever see a spider, make that kind of web. And they also don't glow. And so now we see that Haruto, or somebody, maybe with that spider, but we see now that there was like this stuff written out on the window and red. So it's possible that that there could have been some kind of blood. I think it was blood maybe, but we see that Haruto quickly had to wipe it away because somebody was coming. And so we see that the person that was coming to him is one of Takiko's, familiars. And I forgot his name. I believe this one was Mutobe. And so now he's taking Haruto to Daibrinji Hiroshito, and of course he also taking him to Genji as well. And so Haruto, we actually learned that, or we can tell that Haruto harbors no negative feelings toward Takiko, because we actually learned that Haruto is still very concerned for her, and we actually learned that Takiko, she was actually having problems because she actually broke down when she found out that Natsume was dead, because she actually wanted to be friends with Haruto and Natsume. And we just learned that, it wasn't that she want to be friends with like Yako, because we know that's really Haruto, but it was just that she was lonely and she really wants her friends. And so then we go to Koyoko, Suzuka, and Toji, and we actually learned that Tenma, he didn't show up. So now we have no idea where Tenma is, but I'm really surprised that he's not there. Like maybe he's planning something, but we actually go back to when Koyoko eyes. We saw the way that they were like staring weirdly at Tenma. So maybe Tenma is not a good guy like we thought, but something's definitely going on there, and I do wonder what's happening. But Suzuka was definitely disappointed, and I'm not gonna lie, I also was, because I feel like that Tenma should definitely be there. It's kind of weird that he's not showing up. But we have Ohtomo and Douman. They're moving on the ground, and we see that Koyoko's grandmother, the principal, she actually contacts Ohtomo to see if he knows where she is. And Ohtomo was like apologizing because he was saying that this right here is a job for adults. So I'm pretty sure that he knows that the kids here, or the teens, they're also making a move as well. But now we have Ohtomo and Douman, they're already planning everything out. And so eventually, when Haruto meets up with Genji and Shido, they're talking, of course, and we actually learn that even though Yako, he was a great mage, as we all know, he was the most powerful mage. He definitely wasn't alone. He had worked very closely with that family name, Koyoko family, the Kurahashi, and he also worked closely with the Soma. And so, working close with these two families, Yako was able to do so many great things. And now, Genji here, he kind of wants to take control and, get Haruto here to like support them. Because it's not like they want Yako to come back. Because if he does, Yako could just take over and, do what he does best, which anything he wants to. So he wants Haruto, but he wants Haruto, to awaken the power of Yako. So he basically, wants him to reach that magical level that he once had, and that way, he can use him to do whatever he wants. And of course, now the way that they're trying to lure Haruto to their side, and with this ritual that will bring back Natsume. And so now we see that Ohtomo and Douman, they have finally reached the school, and they actually start with their attack. And we have Douman here, who basically, like invades the building with like all of these like goals, I guess you could say, of his old self. And we see now that the people were like definitely panicking. And then we have this one mage who we saw battle Natsume, or should I say Haruto's father, a few episodes ago, the Bond Princess, I think it is, and her name is Mari. And so now she was like getting so freaking scared of Doma. She was like trembling before she even did anything. And we see that this suitcase that Doma had, when it like opened up, it just shot out, you know, all this spirit energy. They was kind of like overwhelming to her, to the point that she had to make a barrier to protect herself, but at the same time she couldn't protect the school. And so now we had Miyachi, who had to like burn all, who kind of had to like burn the building to like rid of these spirits. And so we kind of see how powerful, you know, Miyachi is, because we do see him, you know, like fight back and forth with like Doma. And even though they're like at a standoff, it's still, you know, amazing that he's like able to even stand the ground against them, because Doma is a beast, and they've been like hyping up Miyachi as well. So I do hope that they like focus on that battle. But now we have Ohtomo, who was sneaking into the school, but you know, he actually was found out by Reggie. And I believe that in my last review I forgot to mention that Genji here, he actually contacted Reggie to, you know, free him of his suspension, and you know, he wanted him to come back. And so now Reggie here, who had wanted to play Ohtomo for so long, he finally gets a chance. And it was definitely awesome the way that Ohtomo had like used this like water spell, and he made like this shark familiar. That right there was like pretty freaking awesome. He pulled a Kisame. If you got like Naruto fans, you like definitely get that. But that right there awesome. I'm looking forward to these fights between Ohtomo and Reggie and Miyachi and Doma. I'm definitely looking forward to them. So I do hope that they like show these fights. I'm hoping that they won't skip over them, because if they do, I'll be very disappointed, because they've been hyping Miyachi for the longest. So I want to see how powerful he really is. Now, can he beat Doma? I'm not really sure. Like alone, I really doubt it. But Ohtomo and Reggie, those two right there should be a pretty good freaking fight. And I also wonder, you know, why is everybody calling Doma Master? This guy is a freaking villain, or he was at least. And everybody, you know, calling him Master and treating him so respectfully, like, to me, it's still kind of weird. Now, I do know that he has some ties to Yako back in the day, but I'm pretty sure now, you know, they can drop this whole Master thing. But we see now that Sulika, Toma, and Koyoko here, I mean, and Toji, they all arrive now, and they see that like Doma's back and he's fighting Miyachi. And of course now they want to use the chance to sneak into the school. But Kyoko here, she was like telling them to wait. And after a while, like closing her eyes, we see that when she opens them, they're like very different. So maybe Koyoko has some power in her eyes, and maybe that's why she looked at Tim so weirdly in the last episode, because that would explain it. Because I really don't see Tim, you know, betraying them, but I feel like he probably do something, you know, to help them out, you know, at the end. So I do wonder, you know, what's going on with her eyes, because like clearly something special is going on here. And then we go back to Harutora, and just when you think that he's actually going to give in to Genji and Shido, we actually have Kon, who, I'm not going to lie, I have missed Kon's character lately, so I'm glad that, you know, she came back, and she has such an important role here in this episode. And so basically, you know, she was trying to reach out to Harutora because he was actually about to give in so that they can do this ritual. But, you know, the gist of her talking, it was like, he really does not have to depend on these people, because clearly they're like using Natsume here as like a bribing tool to bring him to their side. But if Harutora is the real reincarnation of Yako, then he can do this with nobody help, because we all know that Yako could do these rituals, you know, to perfection. So he clearly needs nobody help with this. And we see that when she said that, you know, it really got to them. And a few times we saw Shido about to, you know, attack Kon. So clearly, you know, that right there was not going to be a good thing. But after a while, you know, Kon Burst finally reached Harutora, and I'm glad they did. And he came back to the senses. And so now we have Shido here saying that they were now back at step 1, and they were actually planning on, you know, taking them out. And I gotta say, Shido, as you know, a familiar, he is definitely impressive. He has the power. It's like easy took out Kon. I feel that, you know, maybe when Harutora, you know, really get back his power, and Kon being his familiar we might see it become more powerful. Like maybe when he fully awakened, we could actually see Cone age, to a more mature level, and that would show like a power boost. Because right now, she is a kid, and she does seem kind of weak. I will say that she's a valuable asset to Haruto and to the series, but it's obvious that she's like a lot weaker compared to other familiars. I mean, look at how easily Shido took her out, and even Haruto's magic is not on that level yet, because he attacked Shido like right in the face, and he just ate it like it was nothing. Oh, and then we learned that someone had actually freed the Raven Coat, and they were saying that it couldn't be Haruto or friends, so they were like wondering who the heck it could be. But then we see the door opening, and we see that same spider familiar with like this fan, and it's actually Daisen, who I thought was dead, but it seemed that he had this like ace up his sleeve as he left his like this familiar behind with like part of his consciousness. So eventually, after they take out the spider, it like triggered this spell which like kind of binds like Shido and Genji. But it was just like for a moment though. And Genji here is like a little punk, because as soon as things doesn't go his way, he had called out to Shido, and Shido, easily, took out this spell that was like blocking their vision, and now he's like blocking the exit so that Haruto, can't get out. But I gotta say, Genji here is a real punk. It's kind of like Shido. It's like the mastermind here, rather than him. But seeing Daisen come back, even though his plan didn't work, his character, he didn't go down without a fight. So I do wonder, is he really dead? Because it's possible that maybe he like somehow able to escape. Because you never know. I thought that we were like done with his character. I mean, and now look at this. He came back, even though it was for like a brief moment. And so now we see that, even though Shido was like blocking their way, we have Toji here, who's actually, in his ogre form, and he was like riding on that horse familiar. Now, don't get me wrong here, but shouldn't that horse familiar not be able to appear anymore? Because this was Natsume's familiar, and now we see Toji riding it. So maybe I'm wrong here, but I just don't see how it's possible, to be summoned. But maybe, Natsume had passed it on to Toji or what, I'm not really sure. But I would love to see, Hokuto come back, because that right there would be so freaking epic. But like I said, this episode, it was very good. It had some surprising moments, and I'm definitely looking forward to some of these fights that I'm hoping that they won't skip over. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.